The morning Daniel Mercer said the words out loud for the first time, he didn't realize he was also saying goodbye to the only hour of the day that still felt like his own. Daniel was 41. He ran a small furniture restoration shop out of a converted garage on the edge of town, the kind of place that smelled like mineral spirits and old cedar and had no sign out front because the people who needed him always found him anyway. He was not a gym person by birth or by instinct. He had become one the way most men his age become things they never expected, slowly, out of necessity, and because a doctor had said the word borderline in a tone that left no room for argument. That was 2 years ago. He had shown up to the gym the following Monday at 5:45 in the morning, stood in the parking lot for 4 minutes, and then walked in before he could talk himself out of it. He had been going ever since. 3 mornings a week, same time. Same corner of the weight floor. Same quiet. Until she started showing up in the same corner. Her name was Claire. He learned that 11 days after she first appeared when she asked to use the cable machine he was resting near, and he said go ahead, and she said thanks, I'm Claire, the way people say it when they actually mean it. She was 38. She had the kind of face that looked better in gym lighting than most people's faces looked anywhere, which she seemed completely unaware of. Her hair was always clipped up badly, the kind of badly that meant she had done it fast in the dark. She wore the same faded green pullover 3 mornings out of 4. There was a small scar above her left eyebrow that she never explained and he never asked about. They had not planned to become gym partners. It happened the way things happen at 5:45 in the morning when you are both half asleep and operating on muscle memory, and one of you needs a spotter and the other one is standing right there. He spotted her on bench press one Tuesday and she counted his pull-up reps the following Thursday without being asked, and by the end of the month they had a loose, unspoken rotation that neither of them had agreed to out loud, but both of them had stopped questioning. He liked that there was no performance to it. At 5:45, nobody was performing anything. You showed up tired, you moved weight, you left slightly less tired. Claire fit that rhythm without disturbing it. She didn't talk during sets. She didn't give unsolicited advice. When she made an observation, it was either useful or briefly funny, and then it was done. Your left shoulder drops when you press, she said one morning, not looking up from her phone where she was logging her sets. It's going to catch up with you. It's been dropping for 41 years, he said. I think we're past the point of reconciliation. She looked up then. That's a very dignified way to guarantee a rotator cuff injury. He adjusted his grip and didn't drop his shoulder. She didn't say anything about it. That was the whole conversation. He thought about it on the drive home. The gym was the kind of small regional facility that serious athletes never used and everyone else quietly loved. It had rubber flooring that was slightly too springy, a water fountain that ran cold even in July, and a front desk staffed by a rotating cast of college students who were always cheerful in a way that felt genuine and slightly impossible at 5:45 in the morning. There was a window along the north wall that turned amber in winter when the sun came up late, and on those mornings the whole weight floor went warm and quiet, and Daniel sometimes forgot to count his reps. He was in the middle of forgetting to count his reps on a Wednesday in February when Marcus walked in. Marcus was the kind of man who took up more room than his body required. He was loud in the specific way of someone who had learned early that volume substitutes for substance. He was Claire's ex-fiancé, which Daniel did not know yet. He found that out approximately 4 minutes later when Marcus crossed the floor without hesitation, stood behind Claire at the cable station where she was midway through a set, and said, loudly enough to be heard at the water fountain, "You're still coming here? MD? I figured you would have quit by now. You always quit." Claire released the cable handle slowly. She set it back. She turned around with the particular deliberateness of someone choosing not to say the first thing that came to mind. Marcus, just an observation. Andi tam datirin dat. He smiled the smile of a man who believed smiling made cruelty friendly. I'm back at the gym downtown. Better equipment. Thought I'd see what I'd been missing. He looked around the floor with an expression that answered his own question unfavorably. Daniel had been watching this from 8 feet away. He was not looking for a reason to get involved. He was also not going to pretend he hadn't heard. He set his dumbbells down and walked over, not fast, not slow, and stood beside Claire in the way that people stand beside someone when they are not making a scene, but are also not going anywhere. She's in the middle of a set, Daniel said. It was not a request. It was not hostile. It was simply a fact that Marcus had apparently needed someone to state. Marcus looked at him the way men like Marcus always look at men who are calm, with a brief instinctive recalibration. I wasn't talking to you. I know, Daniel said. She can answer for herself when she's done. Give her the set. The pause that followed was long enough that 2 people near the squat rack stopped what they were doing. Then Marcus did the only thing available to him without escalating beyond what he could justify. He laughed, said something under his breath that was meant to sound like it had the last word, and walked toward the free weights on the other side of the floor. Claire looked at Daniel. She didn't say thank you. She picked up the cable handle and finished her set. When she put the handle back, she said, he always did that. Made himself the audience for everyone else's life. Some people never figure out the difference between watching and participating, Daniel said. She looked at him for a moment. That's either very wise or you're just tired. Probably both, he said. She almost smiled. It landed somewhere just short of 1, which on Claire was somehow better. They didn't talk about Marcus again that morning. They finished their rotation, wiped down the equipment, said the abbreviated goodbye that had become standard. A nod, sometimes a word or two, nothing that required the other person to stop moving. He got in his truck and drove to the shop and spent the morning refinishing a mahogany credenza and did not think about her. Or he told himself that. The next few weeks built a different kind of quiet between them. Not the absent functional quiet of strangers sharing equipment. Something with more weight to it. She started adding 15 minutes to her sessions on the days they overlapped, which he noticed but did not comment on. He started parking in the same row she did, without deciding to. One morning she came in with her hand wrapped in athletic tape, 2 fingers splinted together. What happened? He asked. Garage door. Don't ask. Adenens. Isker nafrenden. Were you trying to stop it with your hand? Anstentinem. Dander arkim. I was trying to catch something that fell. The door had different plans. Did you win? No, she said. The door won decisively. He worked around her that morning, adjusting the rotation so she wasn't loading that hand. She didn't point out what he was doing. He didn't explain it. The session moved differently, slower, more deliberate, and at some point in the middle of it, she said, without looking at him, my ex-fiancé and I used to go to a gym together for about 2 months. He spent the whole time either ignoring me or correcting my form in front of people. Daniel didn't say anything immediately. He finished his set, racked the bar, and said, that's not a gym partner. That's an audience that gave itself a role. She looked at the window. The winter light was coming through amber. Yeah, she said. I figured that out eventually. He had not told her yet about his own particular history. He told it the way he told most things, not volunteering, but not deflecting when the moment arrived. It arrived on a Thursday in early March when she was 5 minutes late and came through the door still in her coat, slightly out of breath, and said, sorry, morning was strange. I had a thing. He said, don't worry about it. She pulled off her coat and said, you're divorced, right? Someone mentioned it. Asenindenan in a suri. He thought about who had mentioned it and decided it didn't matter. But 3 years ago, he said, mutual mostly, she wanted a version of things I wasn't going to become. What version? Louder, he said. More destinations. She had a lot of places she wanted to go. And you didn't? I tinen ne desires. I didn't need to go somewhere to feel like I was living. He paused. She eventually found someone who did. Good for her. I mean that. Claire had been stretching while he talked. She stopped. That's a very clean way to carry something that isn't small. It's been 3 years. You get to put things down eventually. Ansi. She was quiet for a moment. I'm still working on that part, she said. He didn't press. She picked her stretch back up. The session continued. He thought about the scar above her eyebrow and still didn't ask. March moved into April. The gym got busier as the weather got warmer. New faces, louder music from the front speakers, more competition for equipment. Their corner of the weight floor stayed theirs through a combination of routine and the particular force field that regulars project without meaning to. It was in April that things started to slip for Daniel. It wasn't dramatic. It never is, not at first. It was the shop having a slow quarter, 3 jobs canceled back to back, a heating bill that came in twice what he'd expected. It was the particular exhaustion of being 41 and handling everything alone and doing it quietly because there was no one to hand anything to. He started coming to the gym already tired instead of coming to get tired in a useful way, and there is a difference. He missed a Monday, then a Thursday. He told himself it was temporary. Claire noticed on the following Wednesday when she saw him walk in looking like someone who had slept in his truck. She didn't say anything until they were halfway through the session. Then she said, "What's actually going on?" "Nothing." "Daniel, slow month at the shop." "I'm fine." "You've been somewhere else for about 2 weeks." He set the bar down, looked at the rubber floor. "I've been thinking about taking a break from this. From the gym. Just for a while." She was quiet. The kettlebells near the wall rang faintly as someone set them back. "How long is a while?" she asked. I don't know. Until things settle." "Things don't settle," she said. "They just get heavier and you adjust or you don't." That's an optimistic framework. It's a true one. Oxygar that seem der She faced him fully, arms loose at her sides. "But what else?" He exhaled. "I just don't know what I'm working toward anymore. In here, I mean. I got the doctor off my back. Numbers are fine. The reason I started is done, and now I'm just showing up because I've been showing up. Is that not enough of a reason?" Some mornings, no. She was quiet for a long moment. He expected her to say something practical. That's what people said when you admitted something like that. Something dinkini, dasamir din and tatsim, and something practical, something encouraging in a general and therefore useless way. Instead, she said, "I almost didn't come back here after Marcus. I almost switched gyms or stopped entirely. I'd spent 2 years doing something that made me feel like myself, and he managed to make me feel like I was doing it wrong. I stayed because this was mine before it was ours, and I wasn't going to let him take it." She stopped. Started again. "You made it easier for me to stay," she said. "Showing up 3 mornings a week, looking like you'd rather be asleep, being exactly the same every time. That mattered." I see. "I don't know if you knew that." He hadn't known that. "This place is different when you're not here," she said. "And I'm not saying that so you'll feel obligated. I'm saying it because you said the quiet part out loud, and I think you deserve to hear the quiet part back." He looked at her. She was holding his gaze without any of the performance that usually lives in a held gaze. Just steady. Just present. I told you I was thinking about giving it up, he said, and his voice was slower now, careful. I heard you, she said, and then she reached across and took his hand, not holding it, just her fingers around his, brief and certain, and said, not without me, you're not. Astarfinsiden denasim. The gym did not stop. The music kept going. Someone near the squat rack dropped a plate and the clang went through the whole room. None of it touched the 8 inches of air between them. He looked down at her hand and back at her face and said, Claire. I know, she said. I know what I just said. I wasn't going to argue. Good. She let go. Now finish your sets. You've got 2 more. He finished his sets. She finished hers. They left the gym at the same time and stood in the parking lot in the April morning air for longer than either of them had stood in a parking lot together before. Coffee? He asked. The place on Mercer Street, she said. I'll follow you. The place on Mercer Street had mismatched chairs and a handwritten sign near the register that said the salsa was hot and they meant it. They sat at the corner table near the window. The coffee came in wide ceramic mugs. The morning light was already past amber and moving toward white. He told her about the shop properly, not the careful version, the whole version, the canceled jobs, the margin that was thinner than it looked from the outside, the particular silence of running something alone and refusing to make noise about it. She listened without filling the pauses. When he was done, she said, you could put a sign out front. People can't find a place they can't see. Aditis dar same incident. The people who need me find me. Antiten satindrin nasein. The people who already know you find you, she said. That's a different thing. Atadir versens denso. He thought about that for a moment. You sound like someone who's rebuilt something. I'm in the middle of rebuilding something, she said. She wrapped both hands around her mug. My sister thinks I'm crazy for not taking Marcus back. She thinks stability is more important than being treated right. We don't talk much anymore. Does that hurt? Every day, but less than the alternative would have. He nodded. He understood the arithmetic of that. They stayed at the corner table until the breakfast crowd filled in around them. He paid for the coffee. She didn't argue but said she was buying the next one. He said fine. The word next sat between them warmly. The following weeks moved differently. They still came to the gym at 5:45. They still had the corner. But now there were coffees after, 2 mornings out of 3, and conversations that started in the parking lot and finished at the Mercer Street table, and sometimes continued in text messages that evening about nothing in particular. A broken piece of machinery at his shop, a funny thing a client had said to her at work, a photo she sent of a chair she'd bought at an estate sale with a cracked leg, and the question, could you fix this, and his answer of yes. Bring it by. She brought the chair by on a Saturday. She stood in the doorway of the shop and looked at the smell of it, cedar and mineral spirits and old wood, and sindader san quarter akan ni, and said, this is exactly what I thought it would look like. You thought about what it would look like. I thought about it, she said without apology. He fixed the chair while she sat on an overturned crate and watched him work. He didn't narrate what he was doing. She didn't ask him to. At some point she said, you do this the way you do everything, like there's no version of it you do carelessly. I see. He looked up from the joint he was clamping. Is that a compliment? It's an observation, she said. That happens to be a compliment. Einstein so. He said, I'm stiff because you're watching me, like this is a procedure. You're not stiff, she said. You're just being careful. Ansinenden, not nender artering. He set the clamp and looked at her. Sometimes careful is just fear with better manners. She tilted her head. Are you afraid? A little, he said. You? Yes, she said, but I'm here anyway. Asinituri. He crossed the shop floor and stood close enough that she would have had to move to create distance. She didn't move. He said her name once quietly, and she looked up, and the space between them closed in the slow, inevitable way of something that had been decided a long time ago and was only now arriving at its own conclusion. She kissed him first, briefly, then with more intention. The shop smelled like cedar, and the afternoon light came through the high windows, and the chair sat in its clamp drying, and none of it required any explanation. When she pulled back, she said, "I've been trying not to do that for 6 weeks. How is that working?" "Not well," she said. "Good," he said. Marcus showed up at the gym one more time. A Tuesday, 6 weeks later. Daniel was there. Monday, Danforson. Claire was there. Marcus saw them in the corner doing their rotation with the particular ease of two people who have stopped performing casualness and arrived at the real thing. He stood near the entrance for a moment watching. Then he left without speaking to either of them. Claire noticed. "He's gone," she said. "I know," Daniel said. You okay?" "I was fine before he came in." She handed him the cable handle. "Good. You've got 2 more sets." A year later, 14 months to be exact, Daniel finally put a small sign by the road. Just the shop name and a phone number, nothing elaborate. 3 new clients found him in the first month. He called Claire from the shop to tell her, and she said, "Good, I told you." And he said, "Yes, you did." And she said, "Don't make it a habit of taking my advice so long to sink in." And he said, "I can't promise anything." He proposed in the backyard of the house they had started renting together, a concrete patio with a string of lights he had put up because she said the yard needed something warm. He did it on a Tuesday morning before the gym, before coffee, before the day had any noise in it. Just the 2 of them in the early dark. She said yes before he'd finished the sentence. They still go to the gym. Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes Saturdays. Same corner. Same faded green pullover on her, though it now lives in his drawer 3 days out of 7. The water fountain still runs cold. The floor is still slightly too springy. The amber light still comes through the north window on winter mornings and turns the whole floor warm. He still doesn't count his reps every time. She still notices. Nakadundatatududasansu. Amtsir datsir ardinins nature ninin. Minser didaninder horror. What would you have done if someone you'd built something quiet and real with told you they were ready to walk away from the one place you'd found each other? And have you ever had someone show up in your life the way Claire showed up in Daniel's? Not with noise, not with drama, just consistently, reliably in the same place until one day you looked up and realized you couldn't picture the morning without them? Tell me your story in the comments. If this one meant something to you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.